you are on a UK work visa, I'm sure you're dreaming of becoming a British citizen one day so you can work without any restrictions and all of that. So this video is a step-by-step guide on how to apply to become a British citizen. Discover the essential steps, the tips, and common pitfalls to avoid on your naturalization application. Stay tuned. Stop that. Hi guys, so naturalization is basically the legal process of which you can apply to become a citizen of another country, and in the UK there are several ways to become a British citizen for people of a different nationality. There are so many types of visas that can actually lead you to become a citizen if you're on that visa for a certain period of time, but I'll talk about in another video details of other visa categories that can lead to citizenship. But for the purpose of this particular video, I'm going to talk about the work visa, of which I came to the UK with. So some people call it skilled worker visa, work visa, or tier 2 visa. So I'll be talking about how to apply for British citizenship through the work visa route. So if you come to the UK on a work visa route, it's actually a way that can lead to citizenship. Either you came as a main applicant or as the dependent for work visa holder, you qualify to apply for British citizenship after a while. And let me explain. So if you stay 5 years on a work visa and then you meet the requirements, you're eligible to apply for permanent residency or ILR, indefinite leave to remain. I have a detailed video on how I applied, the step-by-step, even when I received it, the documents you need and all of that, and I'll link all those videos here. If you're almost due, you can go through the video, save it, and then when the time gets there, it would be of help to you. Right, so for me, I came to the UK about 6 years ago, and after 5 years I applied for my indefinite leave to remain, which I was successful, and now I have had my indefinite leave to remain or my permanent residency for a little over 12 months. So now I qualify to apply for British citizenship through naturalization using my indefinite leave to remain. So if you come on a work visa after 5 years, you apply for your ILR. 12 months after that, you qualify to apply for British citizenship for both dependent and principal applicants. However, if you get your ILR and you are married to a British citizen, you do not have to wait for 12 months. You can apply for citizenship immediately after that. But for me, my husband at the moment, my husband is Ghanaian, right? So I had to wait for the 12 months, right? But when he gets his permanent residency in the future, at the time, his partner, his wife, aka me, would have my British citizenship, so he will not have to wait for the extra 12 months. Does it make sense? So just to get that clear. So there is an eligibility criteria, okay, if you're using the work visa route to apply. First of all, you should have your indefinite leave to remain, obviously, because that's what you're using, and you should be 18 years old at least, and then you should prove that you have knowledge of English. I'll talk about that into detail. You should have proof of your knowledge of English, right? And then you should have passed the life in the UK test, and then you should have the intent to reside in the UK, and then you should be of good character. So by good character, they mean that you should not have breached any immigration laws, you should not have any criminal convictions and all of that. And then you should also declare that you intend to reside in the UK, right? Again, also the English proficiency, because the UK is an English speaking country. If you intend to make the UK your home, you have to prove that you can, communicate effectively in English, and you'll be asked to take an English exam. However, for people that have a degree that was taught in English, you can apply for ECTS and use that as proof, and you will not have to write English exam, right? And for nurses as well, because we initially submitted an IELTS result, even though it is expired by the time you are 6 years in the UK, you can still use that. That's what I used, and that's what I know that loads of people have used and have been successful. So let's go through the questionnaire. So how much does it cost? So at the moment, it costs about £1,630 per person, and then you also pay a little extra for the biometrics fee, by the biometrics appointment. And then they state on their website that it should take around 6 months, but for most of people who have applied, I know it took some 6 weeks to get a response. I know it took some 5 weeks, and all of that. So let's take a look at the questionnaire. What exactly would they ask of you in the questionnaire? Let's just take a quick look. So I have applied just before this video, so I'm going to take you through the questionnaire. So obviously, like any UK visa application, you're going to input your personal details. So all the personal details are there. They're also going to ask you of how they can contact you, if they need to talk to you about your application. Another thing is that they would ask you that if this application is successful, where would you like to go for your citizenship ceremony? So there's always a ceremony before they give you the passport, so you would choose. So for me, I selected Northern Ireland, and then they asked me if I have passed the life in the UK test, and I said yes. And so I input the reference number when I passed, the reference number that I received over there. So you always have to make sure that you say that reference number very well. And then they're asking if I meet the knowledge of English requirements as part of ILR application, which was made on or or after 28th October 2013. So when I was doing my ILR, I used the fact that I came as a nurse and I submitted an IELTS result at that time. So I did not have to prove that when I was applying for my ILR. That's why I stated no. And then they'll ask for address, and then they'll ask for how long you've lived at that address. They'll ask for whether you're married or not. They'll ask for your nationality details, and they'll ask for your passport number and the expiration of your passport. And then they would ask if you've had any other nationality or citizenship. So you answer that. And then they'll ask for all your previous addresses in the UK as well, and you input that there. They'll also ask for your national insurance number, your telephone number, and then they would ask if you have children whose birth parent is not your partner. So let's say you have another child from a previous marriage, you'd have to declare that there as well. And then they'll ask for your parents' details, your mother and your father, their date of birth and their country of birth and all of that, and then your partner as well. So with regards to your partner's details, they would ask, when did you marry or enter civil partnership? So for me, I stated that November 2020, and then they asked, where did you marry? So I said we got married in a city called Kumasi in our home country, Ghana, right? And then they'll ask for, when did you first arrive in the UK? Where did you first arrive? So I chose Heathrow Airport. Have you had any trips outside the UK ever since you came? I said yes. So the total number of full days absent. So that is also another interesting part. So those that go for holidays quite often and those that travel quite often, you have to keep record of all of these things because you'll be asked of this. So when I calculated the number of days I have spent outside, it was about 76 days in the entire duration that I have been in the UK. So I put that there. So they asked for all the countries that I have visited, and I arranged them according to the most recent one. So in the United States of America, I went there to visit family and friends for tourism. So they ask you for the reason, the departure date, and then the return date, and the days you were fully absent. So for me, sometimes you have your e-ticket in your email, or sometimes you can even just check photos, right? Maybe at the airport you took a picture, especially those that use iPhone, and we always have that record on our iCloud. You can check it, and then you just check the last picture you took there as well, and then use that to calculate. For those who don't have the e-ticket, or maybe just put that down in your notes somewhere. So again, I traveled to the United States of America to visit family and for tourism around 16th of August 2023, and that one I came back at 31st August on 31st August, and it was about 14 days. I put that there. And I also went to Ghana to get married on 28th of October, and then I arrived 2nd December. So that one I spent 34 days. So I put all of that there. And then obviously they would ask if you have ever been a part of war crime, genocide, terrorist activities, and all of that. They would ask if you have stayed in the UK for that appropriate time, for the residence requirements. I said yes. And then they also stated that if there are any reasons why I think I did not meet the British citizenship requirements because I've had too many absences in the UK, do I have any of such? I said no. And do I have any reason why I still deserve to be granted the citizenship even though I do not meet the requirements? I said no. And then they asked if I plan to make the UK my home. I said yes. They asked for my current partner and details of my current partner, and then if they asked if I had previous relationships as well, and then now the referee details. So you'd need 2 referees, and I think that's the most critical aspect of this particular application. So the referees, one should be a British citizen with British passport and all of that, or an Irish citizen, and the other person should be a registered professional. So for me, I used a colleague at my previous workplace who is Irish. For me, I used 2 British citizens. I used an Irish citizen and I used a British, but you only need one, right? You only need one person to act as a referee to state that they've known you and all of that, right? So the details they need from your referees are their title, their full name, their sex, their date of birth, their address, and previous addresses, unless they have lived there for more than 3 years at least, their phone number, their email address, their profession, and how you know this particular referee. So you do same for a second referee. Remember, one should be a British citizen or an Irish citizen, and the other should be a registered professional, and they should have known you, right? And it's the same details. And then they would ask of your convictions and other penalties. Have you ever been declared bankrupt? Do you have dependents not applying with you at this time? So I said yes, my husband is my dependent, or as a dependent visa who is not applying with me at this time. Have any of these non-applying dependents been convicted? So they're asking if your dependents also have convictions. How is that a problem to me? Yeah, so you have to answer that as well. Are you on the sex offenders register? And all of that, at any time in the UK had any of the following: a criminal conviction, a penalty for driving offense, for example, disqualification for speeding or no motor insurance, an arrest or charge for which you are currently on or awaiting trial, a caution, a warning, reprimand, or other out of court penalty, civil court judgments against you, and all of that. So you would have to explain. And they are asking if you have any previous UK immigration applications in the UK or abroad. So I haven't. And then they asked if I have any other details that I want to talk about. So this is where I was explaining that I have an IELTS result, an IELTS certificate that I'm using to prove my knowledge of English, but it's expired, right? And I also have a degree that was taught in English, so I use that. I'm using that as my proof. So I had to explain there, right? So I wrote that in my initial visa application in 2018 for my first skilled worker visa, which is a health and care worker visa, I provided an IELTS academic UKVI certificate to demonstrate my English proficiency. For my indefinite leave to remain application, this was not a requirement for me. However, in this current application, I have submitted the IELTS academic UKVI certificate. Additionally, I hold a degree that was conducted in English, and the certificate for this has also been included in the application, right? So they asked if I have a degree that was taught in English. I said yes. If you have a diploma, it doesn't matter. For those that came to the UK on diplomas and have been able to do a master's in the UK, you can use your master's or your degree certificate that you did in the UK as proof of your knowledge of English, because you have a degree that was taught in English. But if you don't have any of this, just use your expired IELTS results. So I answered yes and all of that. So at the end of the day, these were the documents that they asked me to submit based on the answers I put in. So somebody might see a degree as part of what they have to, somebody might not see that. So for me, I was asked to bring my passport and proof of living in the UK for 5 years. I should prove if applying on my own, right? Or 3 years if applying as a spouse or a British citizen. The degree certificates to prove the level of English language, 2 reference declarations, and then ECTS letter that confirms the qualification meet or exceed the standards and of a bachelor's or master's degree or PhD in the UK, and confirm I did not submit any ECTS letter. I just submitted my degree from Ghana, which was taught in English, and then I submitted 2 referee declarations. So aside you inputting your referee's details in the application, they'll ask you to download some forms, free declaration forms, and you give them to your referee. And you should take a passport photo for British passport application, and then your referees will sign the back of the passport and date it, and you will stick this passport on the declaration form of each referee. So 2 referees, right? And then they would also sign and declare that everything that they have said, or they know you, blah 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 blah. So they'll sign that as well. So you submit them either on your own, or when you go and do the biometric, you give it to them and then they'll upload them as part of your document. So that is what they mean by the 2 referee declarations, which I did. Then I submitted my degree certificate, and then I submitted my IELTS. Instead of the ECTS, I submitted my expired IELTS certificate. And then to prove that I have lived here in the UK, people gave me ILR, and I have my ILR card. So that's what I submitted. Another friend of mine also asked that I submit my tax documents. So if you have P45 or is it P60, P45 or tax records, shows that you've been working in the UK and you are, HMRC knows you've been deducting tax for 5 years. That is another proof that you've been living in the UK for 5 years. And then obviously my passport. And like I said, I paid £1,630 for this application, right? So once again, these are the documents that I was asked to submit. I'll leave them on the screen so you see, right? So what next after that? So now I wait for maximum 6 months for response, and I'll let you know whatever happens. Okay, so wish me luck. And basically that's that. So it's the easiest application with regards to visas I have done so far. With ILR, there were so many documents. With renewal, my time, there were so many documents, but this one was the easy. The documents I submitted were just about 4 or 5, like very, very few, and it's not difficult at all. Once you get your ILR and you know very well you're not in breach of any immigration rules, this should be easy. And I wish anybody all the best, anybody who's due to apply for the ILR this year or soon, and that you're watching me, or if you're due to apply for citizenship as well. If there's any information that I left out, just let me know. And always know that you have to be honest in your application. If you have any issues, especially with the driving offenses, I know some people may have, or like over speeding and all of that, just explain. I don't think because of over speeding you'll not be granted citizenship. I do not think so, but you'd have to speak to an immigration advisor for, I'm not one, for further advice should there be any of such. So if you found this video helpful, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification so that when I get a response that my application has been approved, I will let you know. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.